Interviews are a fairly common tool of the application process for any professional opportunity. However, there are a few scenarios which may cause you to be a bit tense when you are interviewing. Hey everyone, my name is Reeves, and today we're going to talk about 6 types of interview scenarios that you should be prepared and to look out for. Number 1, the timed interview. Now, most of us know that an interview is typically going to be held within a fixed period of time, and sometimes for some of us that can be unnerving, especially if you think you may need or expect more time. However, most people are aware that they're only going to be allowed a fixed amount of time without knowing what that amount of time is. Now, if you're lucky, your interviewer will tell you in advance how much time you have so you can mentally prepare for the time that you have. This way, you'll be able to ensure you manage the time effectively when you are giving the answers to the questions that are being asked of you. However, what would you do if the interviewer not only did not tell you how much time you had in advance, but also told you that you had a shorter amount of time than you originally thought you might have? So all of a sudden, you are faced with the reality that you have to strategically ensure that you provide the most important information to the interviewer in less time than you thought you had available to you. And I'm going to tell you, this situation can be worse if you come to an interview session and realize you are there with quite a few others, meaning other applicants trying to apply for the same position. As a result, you may feel that you're rushed. And worse than that, you may feel like the interviewer is rushing you through the interview process. If you find yourself faced with an interview that has a short time period, do not stress on the time. Focus on the presentation and presenting the best amount of information you can. If the interviewer cuts you off, just accept it. Trust me, if the interviewer wants you to finish, they will tell you. If you're in an interview with a short period of time and it ends up going longer than the time you had allotted, that may be a good sign that the interviewer was very interested in you and the things that you had to say. Number 2, the panel interview. Finding yourself being interviewed by different people with different questions and different expectations may truly make you feel different about the process. But I can tell you that most people will feel comfortable with a one-on-one interactions, because one-on-one interactions with individuals can be easy for most of us because you have the opportunity to evaluate their voice inflections. You can look at their body posture, their responses to your questions and how they engage you, and a host of other nonverbal and verbal cues that can kind of let you know if this is heading in a positive direction. The longer you're being interviewed with somebody one-on-one, the more comfortable you may become with the individual who's actually interviewing you. As a result, by the end, you probably will not feel like you were in an actual interview. Because in a one-on-one interview, it will quickly turn into a free-flowing discussion between 2 strangers who entered into this as an interview session, but walked out feeling like almost a friendship situation. Or you can quickly determine through this interaction with persons one-on-one if being at this company is a good fit for you. However, if you walk into an interview and there are 2 or more people, you may find yourself in a unique situation that might make you a little nervous. See, in this situation now, as opposed to being able to engage one person, you're dealing with 2 people or more, and you're having to split your energy between both of them. You have to keep eye contact and focus on more than one person. If the interviewers are asking questions and then taking a moment to write their notes in terms of your response, you may find yourself awkwardly trying to figure out where do you stare or who do you make eye contact when they're both with their heads down writing notes. I mean, you may also have difficulty evaluating body language and nonverbal cues because you're dealing with multiple interviewers who are asking you questions one right after the other. And this situation may even be more challenging if you find yourself with anywhere between 3 to 4 or even 5 panelists. And you may also worry about what they are discussing about you after you leave the interview. If you do not know going in if you're going to be interviewed by one person or a panel, take a notepad with you. There's nothing wrong with writing notes about what is being asked, but it's important to make sure you ask the interviewer if that's okay. So this way they'll let you know if you have to leave the pad there. Also, do not let the fact that there are more than one interviewer in the room throw you or make you feel like you're inadequate or throw you off your game. Remember, the more people you have in the room, the greater chance you have to shine in front of more than one person, and more than one person could lobby on your behalf. Number 3, the booklet interview. Now, if you're ever faced with an interviewer who comes in with a booklet to ask you questions, just be prepared to keep an open mind to things that you probably had no idea was coming at you. See, in the old days, an interviewer would walk in and it'd basically be you, the interviewer, and a copy of your resume. In this situation, the most important document that they're looking at, which is being referred to, is the resume, which is to your advantage because guess what? You prepared it. So you know everything that's in the resume and you know everything that's not in that resume. So you have a good idea of what's going to be asked about. It is truly your best case scenario. However, some employers have specific scenarios that they want you to answer, and they have a scoring sheet that they're relying upon in order to answer those responses, and they come in with a booklet. And so it's a paper-bound booklet, and it's very unique because every interviewer is using a booklet for every interviewee. It has the same questions, and it gives them the ability to give their opinions or score based on a scoring system for each one and each scenario. Most of these scenarios are about things you've probably never been asked before, and you probably have no idea of what the best answer should or should not be. Booklet interviews are a way to streamline interviews. Every applicant gets asked the exact same question, and every interviewee has the ability to respond in kind. Unfortunately, you have no way of knowing what the interviewer is looking for, or more importantly, what is in that actual booklet that they're looking at. So you have no idea of what type of response you need to provide. Either way, just focusing on the answers of the questions from the booklet to the best of your ability is probably the only thing that you have available to you. And that's all you should focus on. Number 4, the cold, emotionless interview. Every interview should be an active engagement, but some interviews are not. In most cases, you're applying for a position or an opportunity, and it's going to be a very exciting time for you. This opportunity is something that you have been waiting for and are excited about getting a chance to showcase your ability and talk to someone and give them the opportunity to see the best version of you. If you're lucky, you have the opportunity to be interviewed by someone who is equally excited about engaging you and getting the opportunity to speak with you to determine whether or not you are a good fit for the opportunity they're presenting. However, you may find yourself face to face with an interviewer who, quite honestly, is flat. This person, at least in your eyes, appears to be just either going through the motions of interviewing. They have no energy, they have no enthusiasm, they are just there. As such, you may struggle with figuring out the best way to engage them. You may worry that matching their energy may give the impression that you do not care. But then on the other hand, if you are overly enthusiastic about the opportunity to engage them, you may worry that you may come off seeming desperate. When given the opportunity to interview, make sure the interviewers see you so they can see what they may be getting. Do not let any interviewer's perceived lack of energy throw you off. So if they're not giving you that energy you're looking for, don't let it throw you off your game. Number 5, the hot rapid fire interview. If you find yourself in an interview where your interviewer is more energetic than you may be overwhelmed. Interviews oftentimes feels like a free-flowing conversation in the best case scenarios. It's a normal call and response, as I would call it. Your interviewer, you ask you a question, you provide a response. In the best situations, these conversations are effortless, with the interviewer trying to put you at ease so that information can flow smoothly. However, you may find yourself face to face with an interviewer who is, quite frankly, highly spirited. The interviewer is coming at you rapidly. There are no breaks in between the questions. As soon as they hear what they want to hear, they're moving on to the next thing. You don't get the opportunity to fully process your prior responses or clarify anything because they're going on to the next thing. And even in some situations, they even may be more aggressive. You might be dealing with an interviewer that may even cut you off in the middle of your responses. They may do this because, one, you've answered the question. Two, they are more interested in moving on to the next question. Or three, they want to see if you're rattled because the topics keep changing so rapidly. If you're faced with an energetic interviewer, remember that you are in control of your own pace. Do not let yourself get rattled because the interviewer is trying to speed things up or redirect you quickly. And finally, number 6, the manner of the interview, whether it be virtual, phone, or in person. It's important to note that the manner of your interview may or may rattle you. We all have our favorite way of engaging people. Some people prefer virtual because they can dictate where they interact. Some people prefer the phone because they can avoid eye contact. Some people prefer in person because they believe they can feel the energy of the room. Whether it be any of those things, in person, virtual, or over the phone, each manner puts us in a comfort zone that we like to operate. Unfortunately, most of you will not get the opportunity to dictate the manner of your interview. As a result, if you are forced to interview in a manner that makes you uncomfortable, you may feel nervous about how you perform. In addition, you may find yourself focusing more on the things that make you feel uncomfortable in terms of the manner of your interview, as opposed to giving the best responses regarding the questions that are being asked of you. Remember, the manner of the interview is not as important. It may be important to you, but in the grander scheme of things, it's not as important. Because what is important is that the interviewer wants to hear from you. It is your words that are important, not just the manner of the interview. Listen, from my point of view, interviews are a natural part of any application process. However, interviews do not have to feel unnatural. Remember, you're being interviewed because you have skills, abilities, insights, and experiences that the interviewer wants to hear. And it is those things that makes the difference, and not the type of interview that you have.